Hi, these comments are for KB. I am Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com. Free high quality TOEFL lessons, and you joined my TOEFL writing boot camp course. So, first of all, you completed a free writing practice test. I evaluated, I scored that. I gave you some general tips on how to improve your thesis statement and topic sentences in the body paragraphs. And then you joined my writing bootcamp course, and you're paying me to do an error correction video on your first essay. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. Okay, this is what you wrote here. And I think just at first glance, I may change my mind after I'm done, but I think that you have moved up a level. So you took some of my comments, you put those into practice. I think this is an improved essay over the practice test you sent me a few days ago. So your score here is 25 points out of 30. That would be my starting kind of where I would look at right now. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to error correct it. I'm going to go through every video, every paragraph, and what you're answering right now is, what are the most important qualities of a good roommate? Now the question is, why did I give you the score that I did, right? So, excuse me, let's take a look at this. Okay, so with 4, I think it's generally well organized and well developed, using appropriate sufficient explanations. Yes. You have displays unity, progression, and coherence, though it may contain occasional redundancy, digression, or unclear connections. I don't think you have a lot of redundancy. I may find that as I go through it. I think you maybe have occasional noticeable minor errors in structure. So I think that's why I gave you the score that I did based on what I just read. Okay, so now we want to get into your essay, right? Let's take a look at it. I want to make it where we can see it easily. All right, let's take a look at what you wrote in the first one. But one more thing before we get into it. Let's see what the grammar check says. I don't really care about the grammar errors as much as I care about the words per sentence here. So it has 20.4 words, a little bit on the low end, right? So your Flesch-Kincaid grade level is 10.6. Our goal is to try to get this over 12 or right around 12. So I think you can improve a little bit with your sentence style, making the sentences maybe closer to 25 words might be a little bit better. And let's see how we can do that as we go through it. So I'm going to say many youth and I think all that's unnecessary, but Michael, you're shortening my sentence. Many youth share an apartment during their college years. I'm going to make this plural. So many youth share apartments during their college. I don't even think you have to say college years. Just say during college with somebody that they do not know. And then we're going to put here, comma, so going to change this to, so these students should establish collective rules in order to maintain a healthy learning living environment. Personally, I believe that, I don't even think you need that. If there is a divided accommodation between two persons, they should at least arrange equal payments, quiet hours, and prohibit all illegal substances. By following these three specific directives, they will secure an optimal residency even if they never I'm going to put even if they never become friends. I don't think would is going to work there. So you got 70 words. I think you could do a little bit better with the intro. I'm going to add a little bit more here to kind of raise the topic. I think that's going to be helpful. So your introduction, which is or was around 71 words, I'm going to add this just to raise the topic a little bit more. And notice how this very first sentence is actually about 35 words. So again, we're trying to make an effort to get your sentence style or your average sentence length to about 25 words instead of 20.5. That's going to elevate your academic level of writing. So look at this sentence, how I wrote this. After high school, to improve their chances of getting high-paying jobs, students will decide to attend universities. When they enter these higher learning institutions, these young adults will have to choose where they will live. Inasmuch as many youth will share apartments during college with somebody that they do not know, these students should establish collective rules in order to maintain I'm going to put healthy learning living environments. I don't even think you need this word. If there is a divided accommodation between two persons, good roommates should at least arrange equal payments, quiet hours, and prohibit all illegal substances. By following these three directives, they will secure an optimal residency even if they never become friends. Okay, there it is. So this is good. You have a really good thesis here. I like this. And I even like what you said after that. I like how you use the word these three specific directives. That cohesively ties back to what you said just a minute ago. So that's good. Now let's go to the next paragraph. Remember, what are the most important qualities of good roommates? So one of the most important factors in shared households, you want to put your S here. Okay, this is a problem. This sentence here, we have your topic sentence. You said one of the most important factors in shared households, right, is paying expenses equally because during it is difficult. So you need to combine these two paragraphs to avoid that comma splice. Mostly because, I'm going to put a comma here, during the student years, I'm going to put during college. During college, instead of it, I'm going to put students will have difficulty coping with high rent, water, and electricity expenditures. Okay, let's keep going here. One of the most important factors in shared households is paying expenses equally, mostly because during college, students will have difficulty coping with high rent, water, and electricity expenditures. You want to say, in addition, tuition, textbook, we might say textbook costs, consequently, having someone to ease the monetary burden by paying half of these fixed costs. Now, the thing is you can't put the comma there. Why is that? We have having someone to ease the monetary burden here. This is a gerund phrase that functions as a subject. You cannot separate that subject from the verb with a comma, so don't do that. Now, notice how in another area you said because, comma, during college, comma, you can do that. Or by following these three specific directives, comma, you have that introductory phrase separating the subject and the verb, but you can't say here, they, comma, will secure. Will uphold a more sustainable student life. So for instance, I want to put 1 year ago, when I used to share a room with my school friend, we did not just share the obligatory costs, but we split. I think it's split, split, split. Split is an irregular verb. I don't think it has the ed ending on it. But we split evenly all the variable costs also. And put how about let's put comma thereby, I'm going to give you a little bit different, thereby dividing the food and hobby costs in half. I think we can say that. So notice what we're doing here. Again, we're giving you a little bit longer. See, that's a 42-word sentence there. That's going to help out with your sentence variety kind of thing. So for instance, 1 year ago when I used to share a room with my school friend, we did not just share the obligatory costs, but we split evenly all the variable costs also, thereby dividing the food and hobby costs in half. This way we ensured that we spent the minimum amount in everything, which made us able to live at a low cost. Which, how about maybe $400 monthly on these variable expenses, right? Let's be a little more concrete here. So this way we ensure that we spent the minimum amount in everything, which allowed us to spend only $400 monthly on variable expenses. If I had not shared these costs with a roommate, I would have maybe likely spent more than $750 maybe. We're just trying to show how we're saving money on these variable costs. The key here is get a little bit more concrete in those details. It's a good paragraph though, right? Okay, so let's move on. In addition, all the pupils need their quiet hours because no one is able to learn in noisy surroundings, not a surroundings. See what I'm saying? Roommates should also be quiet at appropriate times. I'm going to make this connect back to the writing prompt a bit better. So in addition, roommates should also be quiet at appropriate times. Because no one, let's just say, can learn in noisy surroundings when they are writing complex assignments or memorizing information for midterm and final exams. So I'm going to add that in there. Look at what that does here to your sentence length. Again, you go to 32 and we get a little bit more concrete with our details. Roommates should also be quiet at appropriate times because no one can learn in noisy surroundings when they're writing complex assignments or memorizing information for midterm and final exams. Since universities, you can't put this. This is a subordinating conjunction. It cannot be separated by a comma. Since universities are filled with dormitory parties, I'm trying to get you to avoid the it. It is a pretty weak sentence. I'm telling a lot of my students to avoid using that grammar as much as you can. Since universities are filled with dormitory parties, students undoubtedly will have their own invitations. Their own invitations to attend these celebratory gatherings I'm going to put comma, change this to but. So we kind of have a complex compound sentence here. Since universities are filled with dormitory parties, students undoubtedly will have their own invitations to attend these celebratory gatherings, but they should always consider a proper time for that, or at least discuss, I don't think you need a comma here, or at least discuss with their roommate how about the appropriate timing. So again, so we made kind of a pretty long sentence here. Okay, so I think that's good, especially if one of them prefers to study at some specific time period. But especially if one of them prefers to study at some specific time period, the other roommate should respect that preference and not plan gatherings during those times. Okay, I think we have it here. For example, many people, instead of saying there, I'm going to put this. Many people have the most efficient study hours not me. That was party time. No way would I be studying on a Saturday night. Are you kidding me? For example, many people have their most efficient study Yeah, I'm going to say some. I think many might be pushing it. I don't know if that's many. Some people have their most efficient study sessions on late Saturday evenings, which is also a convenient time for drinking alcohol and having fun. Let's get rid of which is. Let's show some advanced grammar here. Let's just say this. For example, some people have their most efficient study sessions on late Saturday evenings, a convenient time for drinking alcohol. There's no need to repeat that word there, drinks. Just say for drinking alcohol and having fun. Let's use a compound sentence here. So, a consensus about the silent hours should be reached and avoids any possible disturbance towards studying. Roommates should reach a consensus about the silent hours in avoidance of any possible disturbance towards studying, right? I'm going to put the word roommate in there. This kind of helps connect it back to what we said in the beginning there. So roommates should reach a consensus about the silent hours in avoidance of any possible disturbance towards studying. Okay, what do we have here? Let's look at it now. One more time. So as we're reading, what you want to put in your notes here, try to remember to avoid the it and the their sentence constructions. They can be overly wordy and they're not really advanced type grammar, so they don't really do much there. In addition, roommates should also be quiet at appropriate times because no one can learn in noisy surroundings when they're writing complex assignments or memorizing information for midterm and final exams. Since universities are filled with dormitory parties, students undoubtedly will have their own invitations to attend these celebratory gatherings. But they should always consider a proper time for these social parties, or at least discuss with the roommate the appropriate timing, especially if one of them prefers to study at some specific time period. Roommates should respect that preference and not plan gatherings during those times. For example, some people have their most efficient study sessions on late Saturday evenings, a convenient time for drinking alcohol and having fun. So roommates should reach a consensus about the silent hours and avoidance of any possible disturbance towards studying. Okay, we got it. Okay, let's take a look at your third body paragraph. This one not as developed as the other ones, right? So finally, good roommates will not bring. You use a lot of passive voice in there, and I'm going to encourage you to not do that in this type of writing. I think passive voice might work better for integrated writing. It is argued in the reading passage, or it's believed that, but even there you could say the author in the reading passage claims blah blah blah, and the speaker contradicts those ideas. So I'm going to say kind of reduce a little bit of that passive voice you're using. It's correct. There's no major problems with it, but I would say here, being respectful of others, good roommates will not bring illegal substances into dorms or apartments. Being respectful of others, I'm using this to kind of frame this. Being respectful of others, good roommates will not bring illegal substances into dorms or apartments. After all, if a roommate stores drugs or pills, I'm going to put illicit, which kind of means illegal. It means they're controlled substances. They're only allowed maybe if they're prescribed If a roommate stores illicit drugs, instead of saying it makes, I'm going to say both residents or everyone living in that household could be considered accessories. Accessories to an illegal possession drug crime. Maybe. So if, after all, if a roommate stores illicit drugs in the living spaces, everyone living in that household could be considered accessories to an illegal possession drug crime. I'm going to put in a worst case scenario. If police get a warrant to search an apartment or dorm, if police get a warrant to search an apartment or dorm, and if they find could be, I'm put arrested for drug possession, these students could also be expelled from the school for violating the student code of conduct policy. So I'm kind of adding a little bit more in there to develop this paragraph just a little bit more. See, a lot of it. You like the it is, and I've been getting rid of a lot of those sentences in there, and I've also been restructuring a lot of the sentences that you use with passive voice and wrote them with more active voice. That's a more direct way to communicate your ideas, and in many cases, using active voice and not using it or there sentence constructions more directly kind of explains your ideas. Hence, it is good to create rules regarding those. For instance, if one of the roommate wishes to use drugs, roommates should agree on establishing rules regarding illegal activities. And I'm going to combine these two sentences, and if one of the roommates wishes to use illicit drugs, she should use these substances. It's a good agreement, but it doesn't happen. The problem is it's when they're having the parties, and that's when the drugs happen, and people want to have the parties in the living spaces, not 3 miles away. But I understand what you're saying. And if one of the roommates wishes to use illicit drugs, he or she should use these substances at least 3 miles away from the dorm. I'm going to put so that no unwanted issues develop for the other party. I think we got it just about. Okay, so this is good. So this is pretty balanced. So we have 138 words on the last one, then we have our conclusion. Now that I've gone through the introduction and the body paragraphs, let's take a look at your conclusion. So you say essentially, I'm going to just make this plural. Optimal roommates should share the responsibility equally and abide by the common rules. How about this? By. So we have a little bit more advanced sentence style by paying half the costs, respecting silent times, and understanding not to bring anything undesired into the household. Our roommates following these guidelines will make a much more compatible experience for others. So roommates following these guidelines will make a more compatible experience for others. We have it. We got 571 words. And you know what? I honestly don't have too much trouble if you get rid of a body paragraph, as long as you're around 450 words. If you have two good body paragraphs with the introduction and the conclusion, you should still be in pretty good shape. All right, let's take a look at the grammar one more time. I'm going to read the essay. Let's see what we did with the grade level of the writing. Got one grammar error. It wants to put the S there, but it's not needed. My goodness. Do you see what we did here? I just increased your grade level 8 grades, right? We went from 10th grade to 16. That's like master's or PhD type writing. 16 grade level there. How did I do that? I did that just by um, I increased your sentence length, your average sentence length from 20 to 30 words. That's how I did that. Now, you don't need to do that. I think 25 is enough. That's going to put you probably at 12 or 13. Now, but I'm showing you that what I'm doing is showing you how to get 30 out of 30 points. That's what I'm showing you. Okay, let's read it one more time. So the grade level went from 10.1 to 16 just by increasing the sentence length. But remember, increasing the sentence length, it really means you got to showcase your incredible either syntactic variety skills, your ability to use connecting words like subordinators, coordinators, and things of that nature. Okay, let's go through paragraph by paragraph. We'll straighten out a few more things. After high school, to improve their chances of getting high-paying jobs, students will decide to attend universities. And when they enter these higher learning institutions, these young adults will have to choose where they will live. Inasmuch as many youth will share apartments during college with somebody that they do not know, these students should establish collective rules in order to maintain healthy learning living environments. If there is a divided, I'm going to let you get away with this here. I'm not going to worry about it. Well, I don't like sentences with there or it. If there is a divided accommodation between two persons, good roommates should at least arrange equal payments, quiet hours, and prohibit all illegal substances. So this is a parallel structure problem. How about maintain? Yes. So they should at least arrange equal payments, maintain quiet hours, and prohibit all illegal substances. By having a verb plus noun, and then verb plus noun, we now no longer have a parallelism issue. By following these three specific directives, they will secure optimal residency. They will secure an optimal residency even if they never become friends. We got it. So one of the most important factors in shared households is paying expenses equally, mostly because during college, students will have difficulty coping with high rent, water, and electricity expenditures in addition to the high tuition and textbook costs. Consequently, having someone to ease the monetary burden by paying half of these fixed costs will uphold a more sustainable student life. For instance, 1 year ago, when I used to share a room with my high school friend. I was thinking about used to as opposed to just shared. Yeah, I don't think you need that. I'm just going to say when I shared. For instance, 1 year ago when I shared a room with my school friend, we did not just share the obligatory costs, but we split evenly all the variable costs also, thereby dividing the food and hobby costs in half. This way, we ensured that we spent the minimal amount on everything, which allowed us to spend only $400 monthly on variable expenses. If I had not shared these costs with a roommate, I would have likely spent more than $750. In addition, roommates should also be quiet at appropriate times because no one can learn in noisy surroundings when they are writing complex assignments or memorizing information for midterm and final exams. Since universities are filled with dormitory parties, students undoubtedly will have their own invitations to attend these celebratory gatherings. But they should always consider a proper time for these social parties, or at least discuss with their roommate with their roommates the appropriate timing, especially if one of them prefers to study at some specific time period. Roommates should respect that preference and not plan gatherings during those times. For instance, some people have their most efficient study sessions on late Saturday evenings, a convenient time for drinking alcohol and having fun. So roommates should reach a consensus about the silent hours in avoidance of any possible disturbance towards studying. Finally, being respectful of others, good roommates should not bring illegal substances into dorms or apartments. After all, if a roommate stores illicit drugs in the living spaces, everyone living in that household could be considered accessories to an illegal possession drug crime. In a worst case scenario, if police get a warrant to search an apartment or dorm, and if they find drugs, all the residents living in that apartment could be arrested for drug possession. And the students could also be expelled from school for violating the student code of conduct policies. Hence, roommates agree on establishing rules regarding illegal activities. And if one of the roommates wishes to use illicit drugs, he or she should use these substances at least 3 miles away from the dormitory so that no unwanted issues develop for the other party. Essentially, optimal roommates should share the responsibility equally and abide by the common rules by paying half of the costs, respecting silent time, and understanding not to bring anything undesired to the household. Roommates following these guidelines will make a more compatible experience for others. Yes. Now, what did I do here? Okay. So your score is 4. It's good. I'm gonna keep your score. I'm gonna put your score between 24 and 25 points out of 30. That's my estimation. What I did is I showed you how to get 30 out of 30 points. I've had several of my students over the last few months, if you've been following my YouTube channel, they've been scoring between 29 and 30 on the writing, and their grade level is typically, according to Microsoft Word, their grade level is between 14 and 16. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have a grade level of 10, you can't get 28 or 29. I'm sure you can probably do that, but let's face it, you want academic writing, right? So academic writing will have a little bit longer sentence length than, say, 15 or 16 or even 20 words. That's where you were, right? So this grade level in this essay is 16 with my revisions, and I believe that the essay that I helped you with here, the way that I edited it, this will get 30 out of 30 points. It has almost 0. There might be some grammar error in there somewhere that I missed, but generally it's pretty much free of any grammar errors. It's I added a few things, clarified a few things. I wrote things from a more direct standpoint. That's why I eliminated a lot of your it and their sentence constructions and also your passive voice sentence constructions. I made it a little bit more direct, and I got rid of a lot of unnecessary words that you were using. Those are some of the changes that I made to your essay. Now, the next question is, what are some things that you can study in my online course to improve your writing? I'm looking at my online course right now, so I think that you don't have any major vocabulary issues, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Pronunciation, that's another day. That's not relevant to what we're doing. Grammar, okay, this is important. So let's take a look at some grammar lessons that I think you can benefit from to improve your writing. Okay, I think lesson 4, sentences with appositives, lesson 4.1, that's a good sentence for you. Sentences generally with what we call compound sentences, sentences with adjective clauses, noun clauses, adverb clauses, and multiple clauses. So you're trying to get a little bit better syntactic variety. So check out those lessons. Subject verb inversions, yes. Check it out. Lesson number 11. I think that's a good lesson for you right now. Okay, let's keep going. Anything else? Verb tenses, not too bad. I'm going to say look at passive verbs. You don't really have a problem with passive voice. I'm just asking you to not use it as much. So with lesson 19, look at this lesson with the intention. Just understand what passive voice is and then use less of it. Use less of passive voice in your academic writing, especially for the TOEFL exam. What else here? Lesson 25, you need this one. Comma splices, run-on sentences, and fragments. You had a few problems with your sentence structure in your writing, so check out that lesson. Lesson 26, sentence variety, and then 26.2, sentence variety practice exercises. Yes. Lesson 27, you need this lesson, being more concise. Check out that lesson. And then lesson 28, when to use commas. Now, I'm going to give you the best rule I can tell you right now. Here it is. When in doubt, leave commas out. You put them when they're not needed. That's the number one rule. If you don't know, don't use the comma. But you can go through lesson 28 to get familiar with when we need to use commas, when we don't use them. That's why you would look at that. Lesson 28.1 is making sentences more concise. That's a good lesson for you. And I think that's it. Okay, let's go to writing now. Let's see if there's any lessons in the writing area that kind of stand out a little bit. I'm going to look at those right now. You can go over lesson number 1, TOEFL Independent Writing Strategies. That's a good one. But generally, you know how to organize your writing, but you can look at that one to see the depth, the progression of thought, with the ideas. You can still develop and focus your paragraphs a little bit more. And I have another really important lesson for that. I think you can improve still your topic sentences. Look at lesson 5.2, one simple trick to improve topic sentences. Check out that lesson. And then lesson 5.6, writing the perfect paragraph. Go through that lesson. That's going to help you elevate your writing. And I think that's just about it. Okay, that's good. Those are the main things I wanted to talk about with you. Okay, so what do you do now? So I think after the pretest, you're definitely a level higher, right? You're a level higher. So then I think as you do more writing practice in my course, you will continue to get higher. So the goal here, and the good news is, honestly with you, is you have really good control over your language use. You don't have a lot of really stubborn grammatical errors in there. So I think if you make a few changes and you follow my guidelines, I really think 29 or 30 on the TOEFL writing section is a possibility for you. I feel good about this. I would not say this about every student I'm teaching. Some students, I just want to get into 24. That's the best we can do, and that's what they do, and that's it. But somebody like you with the really incredible language use abilities, I definitely think that you can even elevate your writing even more to 29 or 30 points. Okay, and that's it. That's all you need to say at this point. Now you have one more error correction video that you can use as a TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course student. I suggest you do it for one of the integrated writing practice tests at my website. Choose 1 through 10. Choose the first 10 integrated writing practice tests. Do one of those. Send that to me. I will also error correct that. Now, once you've done the 2 error corrections, you're not done. You can keep sending me writing practice every day. Now, I will not error correct all those essays, but I will still evaluate and score them so you can monitor your progress as you continue. Alrighty, and thank you for doing this writing practice test. Keep up the good work. I have a lot of confidence in your writing skills. I really believe 29 out of 30, you could be the next student to do that.